Hello, fellow audio nerds. I'm Steph, and this is MajorHiFi. Focal's new flagship closed-back headphone, the Focal Stellia, has sparked interest and intrigue in audiophile land. This one won't be for all audiophiles because of its price alone. The thing goes for like $3,000, but if you are looking in that price range, then I'm sure the Stellia has been on your radar. Well, I was lucky enough to give these ones a listen this week, and I was super excited to hear them because I actually really love Focal headphones. The Focal Clear, a headphone I hope one day I get to own. Maybe. But anywho, is the Stellia worth the money? And how does it sound? Well, let's go back in time. I'll share with you my first impressions, and then I'll meet you right back here for my overall thoughts. All right, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to my place. So today I've got with me the Focal Stellia, so let's see what's inside the box here. Alright, so as you'll see here, we've got a number of different things. We've got this 3-meter long balanced cable with a 4-pin XLR connector, this 1.2 meter cable with the 3.5 millimeter connector, as well as a 1/4 inch adapter. So 3.5 millimeter to 6.35 millimeter for this guy. You can screw right on. This sort of leather pouch here that when you open it up, it's all the documentation for everything. So yeah, it's like there's a lot of attention to detail with this package, I'm noticing. I mean, even the case that holds the cables is really beautiful. Obviously, you saw kind of the big leather storage case, but then in addition, there's also this more like portable, it's got a handle here, you can see, portable carrying case that zips up. Really, really beautiful. And then, of course, the headphones themselves, which really have a striking design. I've seen a lot of folks talk about this, but actually, compared to the photos and stuff that I've seen online, I actually like the look of this better in person. I wonder, like, how it comes across to you here on camera, but yeah, definitely a really striking design. You'll notice that the headband looks actually pretty similar in design to the Utopia and the Clear. It's made of aluminum. These extenders, you see this frame, all made of aluminum. The ear cups kind of rock in the spring-loaded yoke. The actual like padding all feels really, really similar. Although this like coating, it's hard to tell just from my memory, but it's super, super soft. It's like this really nice leather material. And then underneath, rather than like the suede underneath, it's leather still, but it is perforated. Obviously, the color of this headband sort of matches what they're going for with the whole color of this. And to me, the look of this headphone is really interesting because it sort of like reminds me of like a rustic sort of feel, but then it has these chrome kind of accents, these silver accents, which give it more of like a futuristic, more modern feel. So I think that contrast is really kind of interesting, actually. Moving downward, as for the ear cups, you'll see the design on the outside is really nice. Obviously, these are closed back. These hold the beryllium drivers inside. And yeah, I don't know, when I see a headphone like this, I don't automatically think to myself, that's portable, but the fact that it comes with this case is a really big deal. One that kind of makes the headphones more portable. Yeah. Oh, and they're super comfortable. I was expecting them to be comfortable. I mean, the headband is just very, very balanced feeling. It actually isolates sound quite a bit, so I think that, you know, the ear cups being the way they are is actually really going to contribute to the portability of these headphones. But also the headband is just mad comfortable. It's very, very balanced. There's a little bit of a clamping force, but it's not too much. I think this is going to work for a wide variety of heads. You know, you can see it's not terribly flexible, but just the actual shape of the headband makes it kind of good for different shaped heads. Now, as for the ear pads, yeah, this very, very soft leather coats them. I wish I could like say that in a way that describes adequately how soft they are, but yeah, they just feel really nice. obviously, there's a really nice space for the ear, and that fits totally around my ear. I saw some folks sort of complaining that their ear was hitting the inside of the ear cup. It's not the case for me. It's not hitting at all. So I think it might just depend on like your ear size and your head shape, but it feels really comfy for me. And then obviously on the bottom part of the ear cup are where you can plug in the cables there. But let's talk about the cables a little bit because, yeah, they're kind of similar to the cables of the Clear, the Alesia obviously. But basically these are OFC cables. They're coated in cloth. They're a little bit stiff, so they're a little bit awkward, but they don't tangle up. Rather, I think that stiffness is actually good for sort of like keeping them untangled. However, it does make them a little bit hard to sort of like manipulate in space, if that makes sense. I actually like the color of these because with the Clear, for example, the sort of lighter color of the cable, I would worry that it'd get dirty a little bit, but these ones, here's the 4-pin XLR. Yeah, these ones, I wouldn't be worried about that. The 4-pin XLR, anyway, has a Neutrik connector there, so I know that one's going to be really nice. I'm super excited to give these a listen. I've been hearing about these headphones for a really long time, so I'm just really psyched to actually listen to them now. I do want to show you the setup that I'm working with here, so I'm just taking, hello. So basically, what I've got is my laptop, and I've got the Klipsch Heritage amp. I like this this DAC a lot because it actually has the balanced connection as well as the unbalanced one. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying it out with the balanced cable and seeing how it sounds. And yeah, I'll play some music from my laptop. Alright, yeah, I was just listening to the song I'm Callin' by Tennis, and the kick drum in this song has a nice kind of sense of subbiness to it. It feels really extended, like there's spaciousness around those low frequencies so I can hear the full length of it. And then it feels pretty extended too. The kick drum does weigh, like, where the kick drum is emphasized, sort of makes the kick drum sit a little bit louder in the mix than normal. And it does feel sort of like thick. There's a nice thickness though. It doesn't feel like it's crowded down there. It just kind of feels like it has a bit of extra energy, and I like that actually. All right, I was just listening to the song "No Dad" by Taylor Hollingsworth, and so in this song, the bass and the electric guitar are sort of playing the same parts, and they actually have a lot of qualities in common. But the thickness of the low mids in this sort of helps separate them a little bit and gives the bass kind of the tonality that it needs to kind of add thickness to the electric guitar. Um, and that doesn't happen with every set of headphones. Likewise, the guitar sounds really good. It's really crunchy sounding, and I can really hear the texture in a nice way of that electric guitar. As for Taylor's voice, it definitely feels more weighted toward the throat, a little bit toward the face, but as opposed to the chest. So yeah, I think that it's definitely like a kind of has a bit of a color to the mid range, but it's it actually is pretty thick and it works well for these electric guitars and basses. Okay, I was just listening to the song "I'll Show You" by Justin Bieber, and actually, so the high frequencies aren't super realistic in this song, but it is aesthetically pleasing. For example, like the hi hats that are really intricate sometimes, and then the snare really feel emphasized, and those sort of sit around like the lower treble. Justin's voice sounds really like articulate and has a nice sense of air, but it doesn't feel like overly extended. Actually, it feels more like a texture, a textured airiness, if you will, as opposed to like an extended airiness. So definitely like a very very audible kind of airiness that is audible as opposed to like a feeling. I don't know if this is making any sense, but anyway, yeah, the highs are interesting, and I don't think these are going to work for every genre, but it sounds good with this song. Yeah, the soundstage sounds really nice. I'm just listening to the song Miles Runs the Voodoo Down by Miles Davis. There's really, it's like each dimension has a lot of contrast involved there and a lot of nuance. Um, the horn in the center really contrasts very well with the instruments that are off to the side, and then those instruments that are off to the side, they kind of cascade in their like intimacy versus like how far back in space they are. And with this, I can really hear the room mics of the horns, of the guitars, of the keys, of the drums really well, and it kind of makes them sit more realistically in space, front to back. And then as for the sense of width, yeah, I'm sorry, the sense of height. There was a real contrast there between like the horn, which has a bit of airiness, the trumpet has a bit of airiness up top, and so it kind of sits above, and then versus the lower drums, the upright, the other kind of like thicker instruments kind of sit down below. So yeah, there's a really good sense of contrast there that makes everything feel really intentional and brings the mix to life in a way that is really fun. But anyway, I'm going to spend some more time with these as the week goes on, and I'll meet you back at the MajorHiFi office for my overall thoughts. Alright, here we go. As for the low frequencies of the Focal Stellia, you'll definitely get a little bit of a sense of sub-energy down there, and this sort of just creates a nice sense of energy from the lows in general, and a sense of extension too. As for another boost I noticed, there seemed to be something right around the fundamental of many kick drums. Now, as a result, kick drums and anything else that's sitting under there, maybe a bass synth or something like that, actually sounds a bit louder in the mix than normal. Additionally, especially with the balanced cable, something I noticed is that there's just this really nice kind of sense of energy that from the low end that really creates added emotional impact. I don't know if I would describe it as quickness, but there's just kind of a spaciousness down there that really kind of is very effective. I did like this low end, particularly for rock. I liked it for hip hop and pop music, EDM. I thought it sounded really cool. But yeah, it's not going to be for everything because it definitely has a sense of character. So anything that needs a super flat low end response, these won't work great for. But for things that want a little bit of extra energy down there, I think you'll really enjoy the Stellia. As for its mid-range, there is a little bit of a boost in the low mids, right around like 200, 250 hertz. And this sort of brings bass guitars, cellos, the low region of pianos forward in the mix as well. It's not overly done, and it doesn't feel cloudy at all. In fact, it feels really clear there, but it does just kind of add a little bit to the character of the sound that you get from the Stellia. The middle part of the mid-range feels pretty even and harmonically complex there. As for the high mids, the lower region of the high mids feels ducked a bit, and the upper region of the high mids feels boosted. So really, the way this comes across is that things kind of have a bit of added articulation, and vocals kind of seem to feel more like in the throat and in the face rather than in the chest. Now, these headphones didn't work great for every genre, but if you're the type of person that listens to a lot of music with synths or electric guitars, I think that you'll really like these. I thought those instruments sounded really well done, and the coloration that the mid-range provides sounded really cool, actually. Very aesthetically pleasing there. As for the high frequencies of the Stellia, they too, like the mid-range, have a bit of coloration to them. They definitely have a sense of character, and they're not completely realistic. So those of you looking for a super kind of neutral, realistic sound, these won't be the ones for you. But the way that this high frequency comes across, there's some boosts in the lower treble and some boosts in the upper treble, and what this does is it creates a sense of articulation for vocals and for attacks, and it also creates a sense of texture. The texture kind of affects a lot of different things depending on the mix, but I would say percussion, things like shakers, tambourines, hi-hats, different kind of like, snare, the actual snares on the bottom of the snare drum kind of come through with extra clarity. And likewise, guitars, strings kind of have a little bit of extra, I don't know, like stringiness to it. There's an extra texture there. There is a sense of airiness that comes through with these headphones. However, the sense of airiness is less of an airiness that's like a feeling. It's less of like, it basically, the way that the upper octave is shaped is that there's more energy closer to the bottom part of the upper octave, so it's more audible, this airiness, and it does sound really pretty, but it works better and worse for different genres. As for the soundstage of the Stellia, I think that all three dimensions have a sense of nuance to them. Now, I wouldn't describe these as an extremely deep set of headphones. Comparing it to the HD820, the 820 felt deeper and more expansive, but there is a really, really kind of specificity and nuance to those dimensions, which kind of gives it a sense of life, regardless of the fact that it's not as expansive. So for example, because of the way the mid-range sits, room mics and reverbs come through with lots of energy and kind of a sense of realism there. So things feel further back in space, and feel kind of like they have depth of field compared to one another. And it's really well done, actually. As for the width, there's a super solid phantom center, and then the instruments that are off to the side definitely feel like you notice. There's like a sense of realism and true to the mix sense that I get from the sense of width. And as for the sense of height, because there's sub-energy that's way down below, and because of the airiness that I've described in the highs, yeah, you really get a nice sense of top-to-bottom imaging. So I think the soundstage is really well done, but it's not so expansive that you lose intimacy. In fact, the intimacy with this remains solid. Overall, the Focal Stellia is a really great option for those of you looking for a closed-back headphone in this price range. Compared to other headphones like this in the price range, these ones seem to be the most portable. You can take it in this case and go with it. It's sound isolating, and it also is pretty easy to drive, so it's a really good option. I definitely think that the sound signature complements rock, pop, hip-hop, anything with sort of synthesizers. I think that it's less good for classical and stuff that needs a really even sort of sound signature. Thank you so much for watching. For another perspective on the Focal Stellia and for a comparison review that I did, be sure to check out the description box down below. I'll leave a link to my colleague's review of the headphones and then a link to my comparison review with the HD820. Anywho, thank you so much. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And for more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Alright, I'll see you next time. Bye.